and in my pocket. BBC Radio Southwark, 16 after 11 on a Thursday. James Hazel Show. Now, the CEO of an East Anglian veterans charity, inviting sick or wounded vets to join him at a new project where they can learn fresh skills and potentially land a job. Former Coldstream Guard Luke Woodley is the founder of the Walnut Tree Health and Wellbeing, C.I.C, a mental health charity which supports former military personnel affected by their service. He joins us on the programme. Luke, good morning to you.
Hello, thanks for having us on.
Great to speak to you. Welcome to the programme, my friend. This is something we are learning more and more about, isn't it? Veterans getting back into Civvy Street, as it were, is not without its difficulties when they are fit and well, let alone when there's been, a problem because of their service.
Sure, transition from the military can be very, very difficult. If you imagine upping and leaving the UK to go live in another country, you have to then deal with a new culture, finding out where you go to the bank or how you get to a medical appointment and all the rest of it. The military is very much like that. It has its own rules, regulations, cultures, subcultures, and even its own laws, and even its own language and terminology. So returning to Civvy Street can be a real challenge for military veterans, and they often need a little help and support, whether they've got mental health conditions, physical health conditions, or maybe they've just been in the military an awful long time and they're just struggling to find their feet.
Become accustomed to that way of life, yeah. And again, we know that a lot of folk coming out of the military with varying degrees of what we would now call post-traumatic stress disorder, affected by some of the things they have seen. Life in the military is said that sometimes can cause that. So, there are problems.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we must always keep it in proportion. I mean, the amount of veterans affected by PTSD, purely as a result of their military operations is still relatively small. But of course, the military does, particularly the army, recruit from some very deprived areas of the country. So some of these young men and women enter military service having had some very difficult times in the past, which later catch up with them, and they need some specialist help and care, as part of that too. So it doesn't necessarily follow just because you serve in the military, you'll end up with a mental health condition, but some people do, and it's part of the difficulties that they see while doing an incredibly difficult job.
Oh, you're absolutely right. There is still an enormous amount of pride and very successful military careers that we hear about on a regular basis. But as we talk about what your organisation is around, and this is where an injury has been sustained, and there might be practical elements to getting back into Civvy Street.
Sure, we believe in a gradient in and out of services, so we make it as easy as possible for people to get into our services. And then, it's about easing out. It's a bit like learning to ride a bike. When you're a child, you suddenly look back and your parents or whoever have let go of the seat, and you're suddenly cycling for yourself. It's a little bit like that coming out of services. Sometimes it has to be gradual, and sometimes you need a transition period, to come out of. And so, this is part of that program.
The programme itself is something that you have come up with. On what basis, then? Were you seeing people sort of being left behind?
It's a bit of it's partly that, but it's also a reaction to the massive loss of funding because of COVID. So we decided as an organisation we'd lost so much fundraising. We either got busy and made our own money, or we closed the doors. Closing doors is not an option. So, when your back's against the wall in the military, you come out fighting, and that's what we did. So, we identified a need that people needed something else other than just clinical treatment to help with their transition from treatment back into normal life as part of their recovery process. But also we identified the fact that we lost an awful lot of money because of COVID, and we needed to keep the doors open. So by giving the guys and girls the opportunity to do this sort of occupational therapy, if you like, in a workplace setting, and learn new skills and even refine old ones, then it gives them an opportunity to build confidence and get back into a normal routine and way of life. And the projects are then sold, and then the money goes back into funding treatment services. So, the military have a huge range of skills anyway. You only have to look at the Nightingale hospitals. Who else could build a hospital, from a conference centre in 10 days?
Exactly.
So there is a huge array. And it's also about sort of, getting employers to sit up and take note. And just because you've had a difficult time doesn't mean you still can't positively contribute. And that's what we're instilling back into people coming through this is you might have been through treatment, but you're not broken, you're not damaged. You can get back to living a normal form of life in recovery and still contribute. And so by learning their skills here, there's a lot of work in boat building across Norfolk and Suffolk, whether it's on the Broads or on the coast. Hopefully they will go on to find employment with the new skills which they gain working through this project.
Yeah, I've seen Harmony Boats are very much on board with this, aren't they? James Hodgins and his ilk from Norwich. He's ex-military and he's behind this.
Yeah, sure. Harmony Boats is the business arm, if you like, and we used part of the business arm to provide the occupational therapy, for military veterans, and so we're saying we're opening up to the public. You can bring your outboard down here, get it serviced. You can commission paintwork or varnishing for your smaller boats. So people are very busy. They don't have the time. Just like any other boat business, we can take in work and do that. And the only difference is that your money goes on to keep on giving, and it goes back into an organisation which then use it for treatment with people with mental health.
Locally, we've got Adam Ward over in Southwold. He's another part of this.
Yeah, sure. So Adam is one of our military veterans who has come through the system and was doing really well. Again, COVID, lost his job, took a bit of a knock. He recognised early on that not having a job, not having something regular to go to was starting to cause him problems again. And so we said, come on board, help. And get this off the ground, use your experience of having come through treatment to mentor the others through. And he's helping out and proving to be a benefit not only to himself, but obviously to ourselves and others. So it's great to have someone that's kind of been on that journey through treatment, coming out the other side, who's prepared to give his time and help others.
Is it also the case, Luke, that somebody who has come out of the military, they've gone through treatment, and they're not able to get back into Civvy Street, and they're kind of sitting around not knowing what to do with themselves, that's only compounding their problems?
Yeah, sure, it does. And, you're talking about people who have been, in charge of thousands of pounds of a kit or, lots of people and had huge responsibilities on their shoulders. And so sitting around is pretty alien to them. And it really takes its toll. They often start to get this sense of worthlessness, and then things like rumination set in. And that, of course, drags down people's mood, which can lead to depression. And so it's a really downward spiral. So it's important for military veterans who are sick, injured or wounded to have something positive that they can be part of and they can be proud of. And so, some of the feedback, that we're getting here is the guys are proud of what they're producing that's going on to be sold, and they can see their work turning into something, and they know it's going to go back into giving, others a chance. And so they're proud to be part of that.
I've spoken to many veterans over the years, and some I've spoken to about what was it like over there. And they've sort of looked at me with a bit of a wry smile and said, well, there's really no point in telling you, because unless you've experienced it, you don't know. So I guess this is also where like-minded people can come together that have gone through similar experiences.
No two tours are the same. You can't compare Afghanistan to Bosnia, Bosnia to Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland to Iraq. Every one of them is different. And, even your tours of Afghanistan, you may have gone through, but there will be different times of different heights of ferocity, and sometimes would have been quieter, and, everything's different. So, yeah, it really truly is. You've got to be boots on the ground. You've got to be there to experience it, to truly understand it. Yeah. And by coming together, they feel that they can talk and be free to express themselves and with like-minded people, and it helps just build their confidence and just reassure them that actually they're not alone, and that there is still that connection to the military community that they can be part of, and then it starts to become a bit like being a member of an exclusive club. Being a veteran is kind of like if you're a member of a certain golf club, you can access certain things that other people can't, but then you can also be part of Civvy Street as well, and so. It's about learning to be part of the team, because it's very easy to get stuck in no man's land, identified as a veteran, neither in the military but not quite home either. So it's important that they make that full transition and understand that being a military veteran is about, having served, but also about being able to access, services and support and things that other people can't. But you can also be, well and truly rooted and, contributing to civilian life as well.
How would you like society to view veterans? And the reason I say that is because in this country we have a quiet but very firm respect for the military. Over in the States, they kind of like it if you thank them for their service. Over here, I'm led to believe you guys really don't like that. You don't want to be thanked for your service. You just kind of want to be respected. Would that be fair?
I think British military veterans just want a fair deal. They just want recognition for the service, and they just want recognition for, injuries, whether physical or psychological, and just to have services that represent them that they can actually go to. And to be honest, that should really come from the government. It shouldn't be down to charities to pick up. And so it's about, them taking responsibility. You sit on those green benches in Parliament and you decide to go to war. Every one of those MPs must realise they've already signed a death warrant of thousands of innocent people who will get caught up in this thing. That's before any boots hit the ground. So it's a huge responsibility. You can't count the cost in bombs and bullets. You have to look at it in real terms of what it's going to cost, for the loss of lives, whether civilian or combatants, and what it's going to take to care for your men and women on return long term. Not capping it off just because that makes life easy for you or whatever. You have to have that commitment. And I think, military veterans, they're pretty humble people. They're very proud people. And all they ask for is a fair deal and just that respect. When they come home, if they need help, it's there and it's quick and it's efficient.
And that was my next question, because it is superb to hear of various services that exist for this very reason, but it kind of needs to come from the top, right? The country should not leave its veterans behind.
Sure. These are men and women that are prepared to do work which a lot of people would, not be able to do, both physically, mentally. They leave families behind. Life carries on here. And for them, they come back and they're playing catch up. It's not like the Second World War or the First World War. The entire nation was immersed in it and part of it. Today's modern wars take place far away. Life back home pretty much carries on. It affects the military family, but civilian people, the civilian population, carry on regardless. And so that's very hard for our service personnel. When they come home, they already start to feel like they're already forgotten. You don't have to like war. You don't have to approve of it. You don't have to condone it. You just have to respect those individuals that go out there to do a job. And the military, any briefing in the military always ends with, making sure that the action takes place with the quickest possible way, with minimum loss of life on both sides. Nobody likes death. It's just unfortunately part of war. And so the British military do their very best to minimise life lost on all sides, whether that's civilians, the enemy, if you like, or their own. So it's about getting the job done and getting everybody home safely and quickly. And when the country sends people off to do these sorts of jobs, then it's their responsibility to take care of them when they come home.
Absolutely wisest words we've heard for a long, long time on the programme. Thank you so much for that. Luke, let me ask you this. How do people listening to this who think they might be able to make use of these services, how do they get in touch? How do they find out more?
Well, the easiest way to get in touch is through the Walnut Tree Health and Wellbeing Facebook page. You can drop us a message. You can go to our website, www.walnuttreehealthandwellbeing.co.uk, and send a message through the website. That's probably the easiest way. Just drop us a message. Someone will come back to you and tell you how you can get involved. It's here. It's an opportunity for people to come down. You don't have to be brilliant. You don't have to have a huge amount of skills, you just join in and people will help and show you and teach you as we go. If you just want to come down and make everybody a cup of tea, then come down, make everybody a cup of tea. Just join in whatever way you feel comfortable, and find your feet.
Luke Woodley on the programme, who is the man behind the Walnut Tree service, which is a new thing. He's founder of that, the Walnut Tree Health and Wellbeing, C.I.C. Luke, the very best of luck with it, and good luck to you. And keep safe, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The sound of Suffolk. And